Hey everybody, it's Jeremy again. I am back with another video for the Life by the Square Inch video series here on the Erasmus Expeditions. Today I'm going to be doing another crafting video. Once again, this is more of a showcase than a how-to build. I'm going to kind of go through the process pictures that I took while I was building this particular piece. And today we're going to be building the crystal elevator. Now this thing was also a set piece from my White Lotus, Black Jade Asian-themed campaign for Dungeons and Dragons, and there was a particular prison in the campaign that had an elevator that was operated by different colored powdered crystals. One would make them go down and the other would make it come up. Now this was the actual elevator itself, also made of a kind of crystal, and I'm going to show how I built this thing. So let's go to it. So I hadn't really ever worked in XPS foam before, which is like home insulation. So I started laying my pieces out, getting my toothpicks ready. You can see the cutter that I used here. I made these stacks kind of in descending size order and kind of built them up in a pyramid with alternating levels. You can see between the pink and the purple. I put a lot of weight on the top. You can see my D&D books in the previous shot, and this was just like one of those weighted sand umbrella stands for outside. I used a bunch of toothpicks to kind of hold it all together and put the weight on the top while the glue dried. Now in retrospect, I wouldn't have used the toothpicks, but it is what it is. I went back in with my hand cutter, my foam cutter, and kind of shaped it down into this conical shape and marked the center with an X, so that way I had a place where I could insert the wooden dowel rod that I would be using for the stand later on. The PVA glue that I used to glue these layers together took forever to dry, so I would definitely find a different solution if I had to do it over again. I primed it in white. Again, if you're doing bright, vibrant colors, which I wanted to do this in green, it's always best to prime in white in those cases because the color is a lot more vibrant and true whenever it's done. I can't remember if I Mod Podged this or not as a protective layer, but I definitely would have if I had to do it again. I had this old CD that was all scratched up from the car that I used to have. I weighted it down with washers that I attached with goop, which is kind of the same thing as E6000. And then I actually, on the other side, added larger washers that were about the same size as the hole in the center of the CD, which was the same diameter roughly as the dowel rod that I used. I went ahead and textured the top of it with hot glue. It wasn't necessary, but it was better looking than it just being a flat, nondescript surface that was very, very obviously a CD. And then I hand primed the whole thing, just painted it black. So that way it was the least visible on the table as I could manage. Now I hadn't done a lot of work with my airbrush whenever I first started this project, so I just started kind of trying to figure out what I was doing as I went. Built up from yellow up to darker and darker green, kind of trying to follow a lot of the lines where I made cuts, and where the crystal was the thickest, I tried to have it be the darkest. So that way it looked like the light was shining through the thin parts. Here is where I went back over with a brush and white paint and did some edge highlighting just to really kind of sharpen up those details and draw the edges to a finer point. Here you can see the top where I was talking about kind of the fading from darker, where the crystal was the thickest, kind of getting lighter and lighter as the light would be passing through these thinner areas. The cracking, I can't remember where that came from. I think it might have been the primer whenever I painted it by brush. It just kind of crackled, but I ended up liking the way it looked. Here's a couple of beauty shots that you can see the entire thing finished from a couple of different angles. I coated it with a clear coat gloss, so that way it was shiny. You can see it here at the table in use. The party was on the top of it as the elevator got jettisoned up into the sky. There's one of the people tethered by a rope. And yeah, overall I was really pleased with how this turned out. It was a fun project and it taught me a lot. So, as you guys can see, it wasn't a super complicated build. There's definitely things that could have been done better, so that you couldn't see, the separate layers and the the layers of foam. But overall, it was a really good learning experience. It taught me quite a bit about working with foam, and all in all, it turned out pretty good. I'm really happy with it. It was a piece that really kind of wowed the players whenever it was put on the table, and the encounter that I ended up running with it was a lot of fun, and it ended up turning out really well. So, thanks for giving us a watch, and hit subscribe, hit the like button, and stick around. So until next time, may your dice roll high and your snacks always be within reach.